In a society obsessed with noise, validation, and the endless chase for attention, there exists a different breed of man. A man who doesn't run after people, who won't bend to fit expectations, and who refuses to measure his worth by how much attention he gets. This is the Sigma male, the quiet wanderer of his own world. While most men are raised to believe love and relationships are the highest markers of success, the Sigma follows a different compass. He walks his path undisturbed by timelines, traditions, and the expectations society tries to drape around him. For him, solitude isn't emptiness. It's liberation, clarity, focus, and a refined kind of strength. Yet this way of living baffles people. They look at a man who is attractive, intelligent, and mysterious and ask, why is someone like him still single? Why doesn't he have a girlfriend? The answer isn't that he can't love or connect. It's that he moves with precision and chooses with intention. His independence and emotional awareness make him selective, not because he avoids love, but because he refuses to settle for anything that contradicts his truth. He doesn't chase relationships out of loneliness. He doesn't commit for appearances. And he will not tolerate situations that disturb his inner peace or compromise his self-respect. The Sigma male doesn't reject love. He rejects the noise that so often accompanies it. In today's video, we'll break down 7 powerful reasons why Sigma males rarely have girlfriends. These aren't excuses or cliches. They're deep psychological truths that reveal how a man who values authenticity, peace, and growth ends up on a path many misunderstand, yet quietly admire. Let's take this step by step to see why, for the Sigma, solitude is power, not loneliness. Before we begin, if you had to choose, would you pick authentic solitude that aligns with your truth, or a relationship that asks you to compromise? Why? Number 1. They value solitude over companionship. The Sigma male finds calm in silence, not because he dislikes people, but because he's learned that stillness sharpens the mind in a world that never stops moving. Society celebrates extroversion, constant chatter, and social noise, but the Sigma moves at his own rhythm. He doesn't need others to validate his existence. He doesn't surround himself with people just to drown out his own thoughts. For him, solitude isn't a void. It's a sanctuary. It's where clarity lives. It's where his thoughts align, his emotions settle, and his sense of identity becomes unshakable. Psychologists have long shown that people who spend intentional time alone tend to be more emotionally grounded, creative, and self-sufficient. The Sigma male embodies this effortlessly. Unlike the average man who panics at the thought of being alone, he sees it as his natural state, a space to recharge rather than something to escape from. He doesn't hear a ticking clock urging him to find someone or settle down. His value isn't determined by who holds his hand. It's determined by who he becomes when no one's watching. That's why his solitude is never empty. It's full of purpose. And because of that, when he does step into a relationship, it's never from desperation. It's from clarity. He connects because he wants to, not because he needs to. That's why his relationships, though rare, often feel deeper, more stable, and more authentic. What drains others fuels him. While most people feel anxious and quiet, the Sigma feels alive in it. Neuroscience even supports this. Periods of solitude help the brain process emotions, restore focus, and improve creativity. That's why when the Sigma re-emerges from his quiet time, he's sharper, calmer, and more intentional. His silence becomes his shield, guarding him from shallow opinions, noise, and the false narratives of what a man should be. To some, his calm independence looks intimidating, maybe even cold. But that's only because they've never experienced the kind of peace he has found. The Sigma has mastered what most people spend their lives avoiding, the art of being alone without feeling lonely. And within that silence, he finds not isolation, but power. Number 2. They refuse to settle. Unlike most men who dive into relationships just to avoid the ache of solitude, the Sigma male moves differently. He approaches love from a place of wholeness, not fear. To him, solitude isn't a punishment. It's a sanctuary, a mental and emotional fortress that he's built with time, reflection, and self-discipline. Many men seek love to feel complete. The Sigma seeks completion within himself first. His calm, grounded nature comes from understanding that his value doesn't depend on whether or not someone chooses him. It depends on the kind of man he becomes when he stands alone. Modern psychology backs this up. People who are comfortable being alone tend to score higher in creativity, self-regulation, and emotional intelligence. The Sigma lives this truth every day. Because of that, he becomes extremely selective when it comes to choosing a partner. He doesn't look for someone to complete him. He looks for someone who complements him. His boundaries are clear. His standards are non-negotiable. He won't shrink his ambitions or compromise his peace just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. If love requires him to give up the essence of who he is, his freedom, his values, or his authenticity, he'll choose the solitude he knows over the chaos he doesn't. Research on attachment styles even confirms this. Those with high self-reliance and emotional independence, like the Sigma, are less likely to rush into relationships. Instead, they wait for something rare, a connection that mirrors their depth and respects their peace. To the Sigma male, love isn't a chase. It's an alignment. He doesn't chase chemistry. He waits for compatibility. And that's what separates him from the rest. To the Sigma male, settling for the wrong person is far worse than standing alone. He knows the true cost that comes with choosing carelessly, the lost time, the drained energy, and the silent erosion of peace that follows. To him, relationships are not casual escapes from loneliness. They are long-term investments of the heart. That's why he refuses to gamble his mental balance for temporary comfort or fleeting affection. To outsiders, this way of thinking can look detached, even cold, but it actually comes from a deep, lived wisdom. The Sigma male understands something most overlook, that loneliness eventually fades, but regret can carve itself into your soul. He's watched people trap themselves in relationships built on fear of being alone, only to slowly lose their individuality, their purpose, and even their spirit in the process. For the Sigma, life is too precious to waste on pretense. His standards aren't about chasing perfection. They're about alignment, a meeting of values, energy, and depth. He seeks a partner who values inner growth, respects personal boundaries, and recognizes the quiet strength that lives within silence. Until he meets someone who truly mirrors that essence, he stands tall in solitude, calm, self-assured, and unbothered. It's in this refusal to settle that his real power radiates. While others get caught in endless loops of heartbreak, drama, and emotional exhaustion, the Sigma rises above it all. His life might not overflow with romantic companionship, but it overflows with something greater: authenticity, direction, and an unshakable sense of self-respect. When he finally does decide to open his heart, it's never out of fear or emptiness. It's because he's discovered a rare connection that speaks directly to his soul. That's the key difference between merely surviving loneliness and mastering solitude. And it's precisely what makes the Sigma male unforgettable. Number 3. They prioritize personal growth. A Sigma male views life not as a competition with others, but as a lifelong quest for self-mastery. Each day, he seeks to sharpen his mind, refine his skills, and strengthen his inner character. While others chase applause, status, or external validation, his focus turns inward. His measure of success lies not in how loudly the world praises him, but in how much he evolves when no one is watching. This doesn't mean he isolates himself from people. Rather, he treats life as a personal workshop where every challenge, book, and experience becomes raw material for growth. He understands that mastery isn't a final destination. It's the constant act of becoming more capable, more grounded, and more aware than the man he was yesterday. Because of this mindset, the way he treats time is sacred. For the Sigma, time isn't just money. it's his most valuable currency. Wasting it on small talk, superficial friendships, or hollow relationships feels like betrayal to his own mission. This is why he often seems distant to those who don't understand his purpose. For him, companionship should feed the soul, not drain it. He doesn't run from solitude, he embraces it. Silence is where his clarity forms, where his creativity blossoms, and where his emotions reset. Psychological studies even support this. Men who spend time in solitude tend to be more self-reliant, emotionally stable, and creative. So, when the Sigma does choose to let someone in, it's with intention. He invests the same precision he brings to every area of his life. Shallow connections don't survive long with him, but genuine ones, built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect, become unbreakable bonds. He doesn't scatter his energy across a sea of acquaintances. He pours it deeply into the few who truly matter. That's what makes his presence magnetic. People feel it, that rare energy of someone fully aligned with his inner world. The irony is that while most people search for love to fill a void, the Sigma walks into it already whole. He doesn't need someone to complete him, only someone to evolve beside him. His independence commands respect, his focus inspires admiration, and his ability to walk alone when necessary marks him as a man of exceptional value. In a society that glorifies noise, distraction, and dependence, the Sigma male stands as a quiet reminder that the greatest journey a man can take is the one inward, and that the right relationship should amplify that growth, not stand in the way of it. Number 4. They distrust surface-level attraction. In today's world, attraction is often shallow. People match based on photos, date out of convenience, or commit for status. What starts with sparks often ends in emptiness because the foundation was built on appearance, not authenticity. But the Sigma male sees through this illusion. He isn't impressed by beauty alone, nor is he swayed by popularity or social standing. What draws him is something far rarer: depth, character, integrity, and truth. Unlike most who rush into relationships to fill an emotional gap, the Sigma takes his time. He knows that charm fades and trends shift, but loyalty, honesty, and emotional depth never lose value. That's why he'd rather stay single than fake connection. For him, love isn't about escape, it's about alignment. He looks for a woman who feels like home to his soul, someone who doesn't just listen to his silence, but understands it. And because genuine connection is rare in today's fast-paced, image-driven world, the Sigma often remains unattached for long periods. Yet this doesn't weaken him, it empowers him. While others see solitude as emptiness, the Sigma knows it's his source of power. Psychology even backs this up. Men who are at ease in solitude tend to have greater emotional maturity, independence, and long-term relationship success. So when a Sigma male finally chooses to commit, it's never out of neediness or fear. It's because he's found a connection that truly deserves his loyalty. And once his loyalty is given, it's unwavering. Once his love is awakened, it runs deep. In an age where relationships fade faster than they form, the Sigma male's way of loving, patient, intentional, and profoundly real, feels almost revolutionary. For the Sigma male, closeness isn't something to rush into, it's sacred ground. To him, intimacy isn't about mere physical contact or casual companionship. It's about emotional depth, trust, and spiritual resonance. He understands that inviting someone into your inner world is not a casual act. It's an exchange of energy. You're giving them access to your most valuable treasure, your peace of mind. Number 5. Why Sigma males guard their hearts and only love with intention. While many men dive headfirst into relationships out of boredom, validation, or surface-level attraction, the Sigma male moves differently. He takes his time. He observes carefully. He listens not just to what a person says, but to what their presence feels like, their tone, their energy, their subtle consistency over time. In a world that glorifies instant attraction and fast love, the Sigma male swims against the current. He believes quality always outweighs quantity when it comes to the people he lets near him. He would rather stand alone in silence, grounded and undisturbed, than lose his equilibrium by surrounding himself with shallow connections that drain his energy. This cautious nature isn't born from fear or insecurity. It's born from awareness. The Sigma understands the psychological truth that emotional bonds are powerful forces. They don't just shape your mood. They can alter your mindset, your focus, and even your long-term health. Neuroscience backs this up. Toxic relationships trigger cortisol, the stress hormone that clouds judgment and weakens the immune system. But nurturing, stable connections produce oxytocin and dopamine, chemicals that build trust, reduce anxiety, and reinforce emotional stability. The Sigma male understands this on an instinctive level. He knows that whoever he allows close to him will influence his thoughts, his creativity, and his overall peace. That's why his standards remain high, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. He refuses to gamble with the serenity he's worked so hard to maintain. Yet when he finally does let someone in, he does so with his full presence. Once his guard lowers, he becomes completely authentic, fully engaged, loyal, and emotionally real. His kind of love is rare because it's intentional. He doesn't love halfway. His energy is grounding, his calmness contagious, and his loyalty unwavering. People who have shared a bond with a Sigma often describe the experience as transformative. He doesn't smother or control. Instead, he creates a peaceful space where trust naturally grows. His quiet nature allows him to notice what others miss: the details in tone, the unspoken emotions, the small gestures that reveal truth. In the end, his guardedness is not his weakness. It's his greatest strength. He understands that real intimacy is not something to take lightly. It requires awareness, reciprocity, and mutual respect. By protecting his peace, he ensures that when he does open his heart, it's not for just anyone. It's for someone truly deserving of the depth and devotion he offers. Number 6. They challenge traditional roles. In a world built on old dating scripts, where men are expected to chase and women to be pursued, the Sigma male quietly steps aside and writes his own story. He doesn't play the social performance of pursuit, nor does he beg for attention or approval. Unlike the alpha who thrives on the chase and the beta who conforms for acceptance, the Sigma male moves by a different rhythm. He doesn't chase validation because his worth isn't dependent on anyone's recognition. Love, to him, isn't a game of tactics or a checklist of gestures. It's an organic connection that can't be forced or faked. The Sigma believes that real attraction is mutual and effortless, not something built on chasing, proving, or pretending. This mindset often confuses people, especially women conditioned to equate pursuit with interest. When a Sigma doesn't chase, his quiet confidence can be mistaken for indifference. But what they often fail to see is that his stillness speaks louder than empty effort. His attention, when he gives it, is genuine, not performative. Society often measures a man's worth by how persistently he pursues or how loudly he proves his desire. But the Sigma's self-reliant nature rejects this shallow equation. Psychologists even note that highly independent individuals like him find fulfillment within, not from external validation. This is why he refuses to twist himself into something he's not for the sake of attraction. And ironically, this refusal to play by traditional rules is exactly what draws people toward him. His silence creates curiosity. His detachment radiates strength. While others chase attention, he simply exists in his own power, and that quiet authenticity pulls people in naturally. In a world full of loud gestures and desperate performances, the Sigma's calm presence stands out like a storm beneath the surface. He doesn't chase love, he attracts it. And in doing so, he reminds us that real connection doesn't need noise or pressure. It only needs honesty and stillness. Because when two people meet from a place of authenticity, there's no need to run. They simply recognize each other. Number 7. They are content with themselves. Perhaps the most surprising truth about Sigma males is this: they don't need relationships to feel complete. Their happiness doesn't depend on romance, validation, or approval. They find fulfillment in their solitude, in the quiet satisfaction of being at peace with themselves. That doesn't mean they reject love or intimacy. It simply means they don't rely on it to define their worth. Modern psychology calls this self-determination, the ability to draw happiness from inner purpose rather than external praise. Research even shows that people who live by their internal compass experience greater life satisfaction than those who chase acceptance. Sigma males embody this principle effortlessly. Their joy comes from choosing themselves every day, from nurturing their mind, mastering their craft, and walking their path with clarity. This stands in direct contrast to society's narrative, which often measures a man's value by how many people want him or how many relationships he's had. But the Sigma male quietly rejects that script. He doesn't compete for status, attention, or affection. Instead, he builds a life anchored in authenticity, one that thrives on passion, learning, and purpose. Whether he's immersed in a creative project, pursuing mastery in his field, or simply enjoying solitude with his thoughts, his sense of contentment runs deep. And ironically, this self-sufficiency makes him even more magnetic. He radiates confidence not because he seeks attention, but because he doesn't need it. Throughout history, many of the world's most visionary thinkers shared this mindset. Nikola Tesla famously chose solitude to focus on invention. Henry David Thoreau wrote from isolation at Walden Pond, declaring, "I never found the companion that was so companionable as solitude." These men were never against relationships. They simply refused to let the absence of one define their worth. And that, right there, captures the very soul of the Sigma male. In an era where validation is sold like currency and social media screams for attention, he stands as a quiet reminder of a timeless truth. Fulfillment isn't found in who notices you. It's found in how deeply you know yourself. The Sigma male teaches through presence, not performance. He shows that real power doesn't come from being desired, it comes from being centered. From walking in peace with your own mind, even when the world calls that isolation. His strength isn't loud, but it's undeniable. It radiates from the calm assurance of a man who doesn't need to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. And that's what makes him unforgettable. Not his mystery, not his detachment, but his authenticity. He is proof that self-respect, purpose, and inner clarity are far more magnetic than any form of external approval. So if this message resonated with you, hit that like button, share this video with someone who walks their own path, and subscribe to Epic Persona, where we dive deep into the psychology, mindset, and power of the Sigma archetype. Until next time, stay grounded, stay sharp, and remember, your peace is your greatest form of power.